Chosen one, do not meet someone close to you on July 8th. I know how strange that sounds. I know it feels sudden, intense, and completely unnecessary right now. But if this message found its way to your screen before Wednesday, pay close attention. A hidden enemy is preparing to reveal themselves. I'm not talking about a stranger. This is someone who smiles in your face and celebrates your wins. Do not let them into your space on July 8th. The energy is shifting and the masks are finally falling off. Right now, a massive energy shift is fundamentally reorganizing the cosmic structure around you. You've probably felt a strange heaviness in the air or a sudden, unexplained change in the vibe of your daily environments. This is not just random fatigue, seasonal depression, or a normal emotional phase passing through your system. The universe is actively pushing you toward a profound transition phase that requires absolute spiritual clarity. We are entering a highly volatile period where hidden truths are being forcefully pushed to the surface. Every frequency that no longer matches your ascending timeline is being violently shaken loose from your reality. The spiritual atmosphere is literally clearing out the static interference that has been blocking your ultimate vision. During this specific cosmic window, the energetic veil separating genuine intentions from disguised jealousy becomes incredibly thin. People who have been feeding off your light while pretending to support your growth can no longer hide their true vibration. Their aura will start to clash aggressively with your upgraded energy field as the cosmic timing accelerates. You will start noticing subtle inconsistencies in their behavior because the universe is stripping away their ability to maintain their masks. The planetary alignment is forcing every hidden enemy to step entirely into the light of your conscious awareness. They will desperately try to secure their comfortable position in your life before this specific energetic window permanently closes. Here is where the situation gets intensely critical for your personal spiritual journey. These individuals can subconsciously feel your vibration rising, and they intuitively know their access to your light is about to expire. They will suddenly reach out to disrupt your peace and pull you back into their chaotic, stagnant frequency. They want to anchor the heavy energy to your rising momentum right before the grand transition officially happens. You must protect your spiritual boundaries with absolute ruthlessness during this extremely sensitive timeline. Your entire trajectory for the upcoming season depends entirely on who you allow into your energetic space right now. The universe is watching closely to see if you will protect your newfound power or give it away again. The universe is demanding strict isolation from specific frequencies to ensure your safe passage through this transit. Do not meet them if their sudden invitation feels more like an energetic ambush than a genuine, heartfelt connection. Do not meet them if the thought of sitting across from them instantly drains your social battery before you even leave your house. Do not meet them if their recent text messages carry a frantic, demanding energy that requires your immediate attention and constant validation. Do not meet them if your spirit guides have been sending you repetitive numerical signs telling you to pull your energy backward. Do not meet them if they only seem to remember your immense value when they notice you are successfully moving forward without them. Do not meet them if they have a history of offering backhanded compliments dressed up as spiritual advice or friendly concern. Do not meet them if every casual conversation with them feels like a subtle, draining competition for dominance over your shared vibe. Do not meet them if they constantly try to dim your radiant light by bringing up mistakes from the old version of yourself. Do not meet them if your physical body reacts with unexplained tension or anxiety whenever their name suddenly flashes on your phone screen. Do not meet them if you find yourself constantly having to lower your natural frequency just to make them feel comfortable in your powerful presence. Do not meet them if they refuse to celebrate your victories with the same loud enthusiasm they use to highlight your struggles. This requested isolation is not about acting out of bitterness or punishing those who simply cannot match your accelerated pace. It is strictly about honoring the cosmic upgrade you have worked so relentlessly hard to achieve over the past several months. Every time you firmly say no to a misaligned connection, you send a direct signal to the universe that you are ready for your next blessing. Refusing to entertain their heavy, parasitic energy is the ultimate act of spiritual warfare and necessary self-preservation. You are actively sealing the leaks in your auric field so absolutely nothing can drain the manifestation power you are about to receive. You must stand fiercely in your sovereignty and refuse to let the wrong people walk beside you into this new chapter. That is why July 8th matters. It is the doorway. Society has constantly programmed you to look out for the absolute wrong monsters in your life. You expect your worst enemies to announce themselves clearly with loud insults, open hostility, and obvious acts of sabotage. We spend our entire lives diligently guarding the front door against people who clearly hate us from a distance. But what if the greatest threat to your ultimate peace is already sitting comfortably in your living room? The old version of you was terrified of being disliked by strangers, but the new version must be terrified of being quietly drained by friends. In our culture, we have tragically normalized the frenemy as just a harmless, slightly annoying part of building a social circle. You know exactly the type of person I am talking about. They are the ones who hand you a compliment that stings exactly like a paper cut. They cheer loudly for your success in public spaces, yet they leave you feeling strangely exhausted behind closed doors. Why do you keep ignoring that heavy, sinking feeling in your chest every single time their name pops up on your phone? You desperately convince yourself that you are just being too sensitive or completely overthinking their passive-aggressive behavior. You play the role of the ultimate people pleaser, constantly making excuses for their subtle digs because they technically never did anything overtly wrong. Are you going to keep pretending you do not notice their hidden jealousy just to maintain a fake sense of peace? This is exactly how they maintain VIP access to your precious energy without ever taking responsibility for the emotional damage they cause. This is what they do not want you to know. Medical science has actually proven that these half-friend dynamics are physically destroying your system from the inside out. According to a landmark 2014 study published by the National Institutes of Health, these ambivalent relationships cause significantly higher cardiovascular stress and daily anxiety than interacting with someone you genuinely despise. Your brain is constantly locked in a brutal state of high alert because it simply cannot predict whether it will receive a loving embrace or a psychological strike. You are literally wearing out your nervous system trying to decode their true intentions. The people who trigger your blood pressure the absolute most are not your sworn obvious enemies. They are the close friends who secretly compete with you while pretending to root for your ultimate victory. You can easily brace yourself for a punch when you know it is coming directly from a clear rival. However, you can never brace yourself for a subtle betrayal wrapped in a warm, familiar smile. This biological shock to your system is precisely what keeps your anxiety running in the background like a malicious virus. When you deal with a clear opponent, your mind knows exactly how to protect itself by setting a firm, unapologetic boundary. You simply put up your energetic defenses and walk away without a single ounce of lingering guilt. But an ambivalent connection completely paralyzes your decision-making process because it actively weaponizes your own deep empathy against you. Are you finally starting to realize why you feel so incredibly drained after a simple coffee date with certain individuals? The ingrained people-pleaser inside of you desperately wants to fix this broken dynamic by loving them harder and shrinking your own light. You falsely believe that if you just compromise a little more, they will eventually transform into the supportive friend you deserve. Why do you keep rewarding their inconsistent, toxic behavior with your absolute, unwavering loyalty? Instead of walking away, you pour endless amounts of your pure energy into the massive black hole of their unhealed jealousy. They give you just enough support to keep you attached, but they deliver just enough criticism to keep you doubting your own immense power. How much longer are you going to let these undercover competitors rent space in your mind completely free of charge? A true enemy will stab you directly in the chest where you can clearly see the blade and stop the bleeding immediately. A hidden enemy will slowly poison your daily water supply, hand you the glass, and warmly ask you about your day. This is not just a toxic social dynamic. This is a severe energetic roadblock specifically designed to keep you from reaching your highest timeline. As we approach this cosmic doorway, the universe is no longer allowing these ambivalent connections to comfortably hide in the gray area. Their carefully crafted mixed signals are about to become loud, undeniable warnings that you can no longer excuse or sweep under the rug. Will you finally choose your own spiritual peace, or will you continue to choose their temporary comfort? The time for giving the benefit of the doubt to people who constantly make you doubt yourself is officially over. You are finally waking up to the harsh reality that a supportive mask cannot hide a deeply resentful spirit forever. Imagine Sitting at your desk on a Tuesday morning when the notification flashes across your screen showing that a specific colleague has just publicly congratulated you on your latest career milestone. They're always the absolute very first person to smash that like button on your LinkedIn promotion update or leave a seemingly supportive comment under your professional achievements. They make sure the entire digital world sees them standing proudly in your corner as your ultimate cheerleader and most dedicated workplace ally. But the physical reality inside the actual boardroom tells a completely different, deeply unsettling story that your intuition has been quietly tracking for months. You sit across from them during a critical team meeting and watch their subtle body language shift the exact moment your ideas start gaining serious traction with the rest of the group. They wait for the perfect pause in the conversation to deliver a masterfully crafted backhanded compliment that undermines your authority while sounding completely innocent to everyone else in the room. They praise your relentless ambition while subtly questioning your actual experience, or they congratulate your individual success while loudly reminding everyone of the massive team effort that carried you there. They will send passive-aggressive messages wrapped in friendly emojis, making sure their hostility is always hidden behind a veil of plausible deniability. They know exactly how to weaponize corporate politeness to insert tiny seeds of doubt into your professional reputation without ever leaving a visible fingerprint of jealousy. Your gut screams that something is terribly wrong, but their outward behavior is so carefully constructed that you end up convincing yourself you're just reading too much into a careless comment. You force yourself to smile and thank them for their input while your nervous system silently registers the interaction as a direct threat. This is the exact moment the mask slips, just enough for you to witness the hidden enemy operating right out in the open. This is exactly where the dynamic gets truly insidious. You may realize that every time you agree to meet them for a quick networking coffee downtown, you return to your desk feeling completely hollowed out and inexplicably exhausted. You may realize that as you sit there stirring your iced latte, the conversation always subtly revolves around extracting sensitive information about your upcoming projects, your personal struggles, or your next big strategic move. You may realize that they never actually share their own authentic vulnerabilities, choosing instead to act as a cold mirror that only reflects your deepest insecurities back at you. You may realize that they have a strange recurring habit of bringing up your past failures disguised as nostalgic memories, just when you are feeling the absolute most confident about your future direction. You may realize that their career advice always sounds completely logical on the surface, but somehow miraculously makes you want to play small, avoid necessary risks, and step out of the spotlight. You may realize that they only invite you to these casual midday meetups when they sense your momentum rapidly building, acting as a deliberate, energetic speed bump to slow down your progression. You may realize that your social battery does not just quietly deplete around them, it aggressively crashes as your physical body fights a silent, invisible battle against their parasitic attachments. You may realize that you spend hours after these interactions staring at your computer screen, replaying the conversation in your head, desperately trying to pinpoint the exact moment their words made you feel entirely worthless. You may realize that their fake enthusiasm for your upcoming vacation or new apartment is always followed by a subtle warning about the hidden dangers of moving too fast. You may realize that they view your expanding life as a direct insult to their stagnant reality, forcing them to constantly find creative ways to bring you back down to their level. You may realize that this has never been a genuine friendship, but rather a long-term surveillance operation designed to monitor your success and manage your confidence. You may realize that this toxic pattern extends far beyond the corporate environment and bleeds directly into your closest personal circles. You may realize that the friend who constantly complains about their own lack of progress is the exact same friend who completely changes the subject the second you attempt to share a personal victory. You may realize that they have masterfully trained you over the years to shrink your own presence and heavily filter your good news just to protect their incredibly fragile ego. You may realize that they only feel truly comfortable and loving toward you when you are actively going through a crisis, needing their immediate help, or operating at a much lower frequency. You may realize that their physical presence actually feels like a heavy, suffocating winter coat that you are being forced to wear in the middle of a blazing summer afternoon. you may realize that the sudden anxiety spikes you experience before meeting them are not a sign of your own social awkwardness, but a loud biological alarm warning you of an incoming energetic theft. You may realize that you have spent years breaking your own back trying to carry the heavy weight of a connection that was secretly designed to hold you firmly down in the mud. You may realize that the only reason they still have VIP access to your inner circle is because your extreme empathy has consistently blinded you to their calculated, relentless sabotage. You may realize that every time you try to pull away, they immediately sense the distance and throw a breadcrumb of genuine kindness just to reset the trap. You may realize that you are completely exhausted from playing the role of the unconditional healer for someone who is actively committed to misunderstanding your boundaries. You may realize that the guilt you feel about wanting to cut them off was actually implanted by them to keep you permanently tethered to their chaotic emotional roller coaster. You may realize that surviving this transit requires you to stop making excuses for grown adults who know exactly what they are doing to your peace of mind. In our highly logical society, we are heavily conditioned to demand hard evidence before we are allowed to distance ourselves from someone. You have been taught to operate like a lawyer in your own life, constantly searching for concrete proof, text message screenshots, or obvious betrayals before you can legally declare a friendship toxic. If someone has not explicitly stolen from you or openly insulted you to your face, you feel obligated to give them the benefit of the doubt. You end up entirely gaslighting your own spirit because you cannot logically explain why their mere presence makes your stomach turn. Why do you constantly feel the need to compile a spreadsheet of offenses to validate what your body already knows is true? You sit there analyzing their perfectly polite words, trying to convince yourself that they meant well, and you are just being overly dramatic. How many times have you ignored that immediate, sickening drop in your gut just to maintain a socially acceptable level of politeness? But I need you to listen to this very carefully, because it completely changes how you will interact with these people forever. The profound uneasiness you feel around them is not a trauma response, an overactive imagination, or a sign of your own deep-rooted insecurity. It is a highly sophisticated biological alarm system firing off massive warnings that your conscious, logical mind has not even processed yet. Your spirit is actively translating their hidden energetic intentions into physical sensations to keep you safe from their disguised deception. Modern science actually validates exactly what your soul has been trying to scream at you for all these years. According to a fascinating 2009 psychological study published on ResearchGate, your gut feeling is a completely real, scientifically measurable pattern recognition system. The researchers discovered that when humans rely on intuition through a rapid process called thin slicing, they detect deception significantly better than when they try to logically analyze the situation. Your brilliant brain is unconsciously absorbing hundreds of microsignals, such as tiny shifts in their breathing, micro-expressions of contempt, and the energetic mismatch between their fake smile and cold eyes. Your physical body recognizes the undercover predator long before your polite, socially conditioned mind can formulate a coherent argument. This scientifically backed reality must completely destroy the heavy guilt you have been carrying for secretly wanting to cut these individuals off. The old version of you would continuously apologize for feeling distant, falsely believing you were being incredibly unfair to a seemingly supportive companion. The new version of you understands that waiting for logical proof of their ultimate betrayal is exactly what allows them to continuously drain your vital energy. You simply do not need them to do something explicitly evil to justify walking away and fiercely protecting your sacred peace. When will you finally start trusting the hyper-intelligent radar built directly into your own nervous system? As a chosen one, your intuition is never just a basic biological defense mechanism, it is your ultimate spiritual weapon against hidden enemies. While they spend countless hours carefully crafting their words to sound incredibly supportive, your gut instantly bypasses their script and reads their raw, unfiltered energy. They mistakenly think they are outsmarting you with their corporate politeness and subtle manipulation, completely unaware that your physical body has already exposed their absolute truth. You must immediately stop putting your God-given intuition on trial just to accommodate the incredibly fragile egos of people who secretly want to see you fail. Your visceral reaction to their overwhelming presence is the absolute only receipt you will ever need to justify your swift departure. The massive energy shift arriving right now is going to amplify this internal radar to a level you have never consciously experienced before. These intuitive signals are no longer going to be quiet whispers that you can easily brush off after a good night of restorative sleep. Your body is going to violently reject the presence of anyone holding secret malice, making it physically impossible to sit comfortably in their deceptive vibration. The universe is drastically upgrading your spiritual security system, and you cannot afford to hit the snooze button when the alarm finally rings loud and clear. Are you ready to completely stop doubting your own inner knowing when the undeniable truth is finally placed right in front of you? The version of you that once thrived on being the ultimate people-pleaser is rapidly losing its power. For years, you have operated under the dangerous assumption that your value is tied to your accessibility. You believed that by consistently showing up for others, you would eventually receive the same level of care in return. That was the old version of you, the one who spent countless hours over-explaining your boundaries to people who intentionally refused to hear them. The new version of you understands that availability is a luxury, not a basic requirement for your existence. Listen to this carefully. They are not suddenly reaching out because they finally recognize your worth or want to offer a sincere apology. They are reaching out because they sense a massive shift in your internal gravity and are terrified of losing their primary energy supply. That familiar ghost from your past suddenly appearing in your notifications is not a divine test of your forgiveness. It is a calculated, strategic attempt to pull you back into the exact frequency where they previously held the most influence. They do not want you to know that your silence terrifies them more than your anger ever could. Imagine it is late on a Tuesday evening when that notification finally hits your screen, vibrating with a desperate, familiar energy. It is an old friend from your previous life, someone you spent years trying to save, suddenly asking to grab a coffee this weekend. They claim they have just been thinking about you, missing your presence, and wanting to catch up on everything you have missed lately. Everything about the message screams comfort, nostalgia, and a manufactured sense of urgency to reconnect right before the energy shifts on the 8th. You feel that old familiar pull in your chest, a mixture of guilt, longing, and the exhaustion of having to explain yourself all over again. You might feel tempted to think that maybe, just maybe, they have finally changed their ways after all this time apart. That is the trap. The old version of you would have already started drafting a long, thoughtful response, while simultaneously mentally preparing to shrink your own boundaries. You would have prioritized their need for closure over your own need for long-term psychological safety and spiritual alignment. But look at the pattern. Every time you finally start to reclaim your own momentum, they appear like a heavy anchor designed to slow you down. The new version of you recognizes that their timing is not a beautiful coincidence, but a desperate, final attempt to re-establish control. They are banking on your deep-seated fear of being perceived as cold, mean, or stuck in the past. They're relying on the fact that you still struggle to prioritize your own peace over their fragile, demanding needs. They hate the fact that you are finally learning to be reliable for yourself instead of being their endless emotional crutch. You are not being unfair by protecting your future from people who were clearly content to destroy your past. They want you to look back, apologize for your distance, and justify why you had to leave their chaotic world behind. Do not give them that power. If you engage with their manufactured nostalgia, you are essentially opening the door for them to rewrite your history and cloud your vision. The moment you start explaining, you have already lost the battle for your own sovereign energy and focus. Their confusion is not your responsibility to clear up, and their need for closure is not your debt to pay. You have spent enough years apologizing for your own healing and shrinking your light to make others feel secure. The version of you that used to wait, apologize, chase, and overgive is starting to completely disappear for good. Recognize that their desire to meet on this specific date is a tactical maneuver against your rising spiritual frequency. Every decision you make right now either anchors you deeper into your power or drags you back into the mud. You are finally outgrowing the environment that once felt like home, and that is not a betrayal. It is a profound victory. Stay focused on your path. Do not let the ghosts of your past dictate your future. As the energy hits its absolute peak on July 8th, you must move with intentional, calculated precision to keep your field clear of interference. The most vital defense you have against these calculated traps is the practice of the 24-hour pause. When that person inevitably slides into your messages with their fake warmth or urgent requests, force yourself to step away from the immediate impulse to respond. Do not provide them with the instant, emotionally available version of yourself that they have so successfully manipulated in the past. If they really wanted to catch up, they would wait. If they really respected your time, they would not demand an immediate reaction to their carefully orchestrated drama. Breathe through the initial spike of anxiety that urges you to be polite, explain yourself, or provide a soft exit strategy. That internal pressure to answer instantly is exactly what they rely on to maintain their grip over your nervous system. Decide that you will not be a passive participant in your own energetic depletion for one more second of this lifetime. Instead of analyzing their words for hidden meaning or crafting the perfect diplomatic reply, turn your focus inward and track your own biological response. Does your solar plexus tighten like a coiled spring when you see their name appearing on your screen? Does your breathing suddenly become shallow, or does a strange heaviness settle deep into your lower back? Trust that visceral, physical data point more than any smooth, polite, or apologetic words they could ever possibly send you. Your body is a far more accurate radar for danger than your socially conditioned, people-pleasing mind will ever be. If your gut feeling screams danger, you do not owe them a single explanation, a follow-up text, or a scheduled coffee date to clear the air. You are not being unkind by choosing to protect the integrity of your own sacred space from those who wish to disrupt it. You are simply practicing the necessary, ruthless self-preservation required for a chosen one entering this specific level of spiritual ascension. Keep your energetic boundaries firm and unapologetic throughout the entire duration of this volatile transit. If you feel the need to respond after the 24 hours have passed, keep it brief, neutral, and entirely devoid of emotional vulnerability. Do not give them a single detail about your current projects, your future goals, or your personal emotional state that they can use later. Watch their reaction closely when they realize they can no longer easily access the version of you that used to overgive. They will either quickly reveal their true aggressive colors, or they will finally retreat when they sense your power is no longer available for their consumption. This is your moment to break the cycle once and for all. You have spent far too long making yourself small just to ensure that others feel comfortable in their own stagnant reality. Every time you refuse to be lured back into the old dynamic, you are successfully closing a massive energetic leak. This is why you must not be naive on July 8th. Treat your energy as the most valuable asset you own, because it is the fuel for every single manifestation you are currently calling into your life. Stand your ground, trust your body, and refuse to let anyone dictate the speed or the quality of your personal evolution. You are in complete control of your timeline now. Do not relinquish that authority for anyone. Ultimately, you must decide right now if you are going to walk into this next phase as the version of yourself who is ready to be rewarded, or as the version who still gives the wrong people the power to define your worth. That last realization might be the most shocking of all, because sometimes the miracle is not that they come back. Sometimes the miracle is that they come back, and you finally do not lose yourself. Choose your peace over their presence. Write, "I choose alignment" in the comments if you are entering this period with clear energy. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this month is going to move fast.